Welcome back to The Dot is Black. I'm David. Let me introduce you to the iDraw 2.0 A3 pen plotter by UUNA TEK. It was provided to me to review and also to share with you my experiences. The video became a bit longer than I expected. However, I have tried to be as thorough and as detailed as possible, and I emphasize particularly on the pen holder plate, the frame, the basement, and of course the speed. And even the video is a bit longer than expected. I hope it will be interesting, especially for those of you who are beginners and also those of you who are interested to purchase a drawing machine. So let's begin with the iDrawPenPlotter.com website. In the shop, we can see three types of iDraw 2.0. The first one is A3 size, then we have the A4 size and also the A3 size, but the H version, where we have on both sides frame, the Y-axis that allows for more stability and at higher speeds. Very interesting plotter here in this case. Let's look at the A3 one. A3 one has two options. One is without the basement and another one is with the basement. There are slight differences. However, the specifications are pretty much the same. You can read this in more in detail, but it's a GRBL compatibility. It has aluminum profile, A3 size. It has 3 stepper motors, and it weighs about 4 kg. Worth to mention, this plotter also allows for the use of a laser module to engrave or laser cut. There are 3 types of them, 500, 1600, and 2500. And in case you choose, I would definitely suggest you to choose the 2500 milliwatt, which is slightly more expensive, just $40 US, but you definitely save a lot of time waiting until the laser engraving or laser cutting is finished. However, I will not review in this video the laser engraver. Now we see already the price, $429 US. This is for the without the basement. It has slightly shorter legs, and the laser, the microcontroller or the motherboard is at the top here. Behind the frame, and the version with the basement, that's basically the plate, costs $549 US, so it's $120 US more expensive. In the cart, the price is $549 US. However, if you type in the dot is black, the coupon code the dot is black, and apply, you will get 15% discount, which is quite amazing. So the total price is $466 US, including international shipping. That is really amazing for this type of plotter. It's a really good plotter, and also the price is amazing. Likewise, for the plotter without the basement, the price is $364 US if you apply the coupon code. Once you ordered, the box will arrive within the first couple of days, depending on your location. And as you can see already, the pen plotter is about 95 to 90% pre-assembled. There are very few parts that you have to assemble and also connect. Here we have the X-axis with the X motor. Then we have the Y-axis with the base plate and the Y motor, motherboard inside and all the buttons. We have the USB cable, 1.3.5 meter long, hex key set, pen holder plate, and of course the power adapter, also 1.3.5 meter long. To assemble the pen plotter, you just first have to unscrew the screws and remove the washers from the Y-axis, and then place on top of it the X-axis. Basically, there is the plate, and you just put it on top of the screws. Then you place back the nuts. Just pay attention that the washers must be facing towards the drawing area and without the washers away from the drawing area. I don't know exactly what is the reason, but it seems like that is important. Second step is connect the cables or plug in the cables into the motors. So they are all very well labeled. So here you have the Y motor, and then on top of it you have the X motor. Once you have done this, it's time for the pen holder plate. It's straightforward. Again, there are 2 holes, 2 screws. Actually, sorry, this pen holder plate has, I think, 3 holes, and there are 2 screws, but you actually need only 1 screw that you just connect the pen holder plate with the motor. where the motor is. So you can choose between 90 degrees or up to 70 degrees. You can basically tilt it slightly. I right now choose 90 degrees. And it's time now to connect the cables, first the USB cable and also the power adapter. The microcontroller and all the other parts are below the base plate. Out of curiosity, I also unscrewed the motherboard just behind it, below it, so just to see what's actually there. There are distance holders, and you can see already in the front some part which is the Bluetooth device. I was not able to make it work, but UUNA TEK just published a video where they show how to make the Bluetooth work, so you don't need any USB cable. And lastly, just in case the cables are moving around or just to prevent that they get stuck, use the cable ties and try to fix them with the X-axis. To calibrate the pen plotter, it's fairly simple. So we have here these magnets, and they're about like 3 mm high, and I can just simply put the pen inside. In the pen holder plate, I shift around this the Z motor above it, and then I just simply let it fall. There it is, and I close it, make it fixed, and I move it away. The pen holder plate has something very particular here. As you can see here, it's very uncommon to have a stepper motor for the pen holder plate to raise it up and lower it. Usually there is a servo motor which is just only working with gravity. However, this one is much better, I believe, because it has more power, it's faster obviously, and also it has this spring here on both sides. And as you can see right now the motor is off, so I can push it down and the spring is actually pulling it back. And there is also a little small, actually very short belt that connects those two springs on both sides. So when the stepper motor moves down the plate, then on the other side, you can see when it moves down, this spring will pull it back. Let me turn on and off the motor, then you can see it better. So now the motor is down, so I usually actually will draw it. So right now I have the pen is slightly higher than it's supposed to be, but you can see already it's going down. I cannot push it further down. That's the limit. However, as you can see, the spring is actually pulling it back, the weight. Yeah, so there is a weight and also the spring is pulling it down. And I think this is extremely good because as you will see in the examples, it's extremely nice when you work with pencils, for example. So anything that needs additional pressure, it works extremely well with this pen holder plate. So I'm kind of quite happy about the setup. So that definitely is working very well so far. Now, as you can see here, we have the contact button. So if the pen holder plate arrives here and then it presses on it, the iDraw stops instantly and moves slightly back. However, where the black line is, this is actually the end of it. But the plate is slightly too much on the left side. It's about like 1.8 centimeter. But you can, of course, move this plate to the right side a little bit to calibrate it. And this distance is pretty much exactly the same distance as you can see here, this and this screw, or at least this opening. And you would have to open up this part. You would have to open up this part and also likewise on the other side as well. And then you'll find here on the side some little distance holders that you have to slide a little bit inside in the end. But that will work perfectly and you can calibrate it. So of course all of this depends on the position of the pen, whether it's exactly 90 degrees or maybe 70 degrees, or maybe you go also in the other side. So you might have to shift a little bit this base plate. Let's have a look at the software. If you go on the iDrawPenPlotter.com website and you scroll down in your product, on the product page, then you have here 2 points, which is one is the software for Windows and Mac version, and also the second part is the extension. So we need both of them. So first of all, let's have a look at the Windows version, or depending what operating system you have, so Mac or Windows. And it will redirect you to a Dropbox account. where you will find the entire version of Inkscape 1.1.2 for Windows, and then you just click download. It will instantly download the entire folder, but I actually don't want that. What I did is I went directly to inkscape.org, and that's a free software. It's the same thing. It's the latest version, and you could just go to download and Windows installer package, or there should be also Mac OS package when you're on a MacBook, for example, and it will download the installation file. Once it's finished, you can install Inkscape. Now, before we open up Inkscape, I would suggest you just download first the extension file. And again, it will redirect you to a Dropbox account. There is a folder with 3 subfolders, which is the extension, iDraw driver. This is for the iDraw driver 1.0 or iDraw 1.0. And then we have iDraw 2.0 drivers. So we need actually the entire folders. Again, download. It's about 18 or 19 megabyte. In Inkscape, copy the extension folder in the correct Inkscape folder. So we go to Edit, Preferences. You can also do this manually, of course, without launching Inkscape. But here it is in the Preferences system, and there is a user extension part. There you click on Open, and it will open the Explorer directly in the Inkscape folder. And we open up the packed file, the file that we just downloaded from the Dropbox account, and here we have the extensions and also the drivers. So now I just simply drag and drop this extension folder into my Inkscape folder. There you go. So once you have done this, that's already good. You can close this window. And the second part is you need to install the drivers. So you just click or double click Windows driver, and again here double click on the exe file. It will unzip it and then also launch this driver installation file. You click install. Okay, driver installed successfully. You can close everything, great. And close also Inkscape again, and then relaunch Inkscape. After you relaunched, you go to extension, and now you should see your controller, iDraw 2.0 controller. The other one is iDraw controller for the first version of the iDraw 1.0. Now let's click here, 2.0. And a new window appears. This is actually quite substantial. It's very important. You will use this continuously. So in the background, we have the canvas. Right now, it's only A4 setup, so we have to set it up later. We have setup. Here, you set up the pen, the height of it, how far it's up and also how far it goes down. And you have here a couple of options. You can press on toggle pen up and down. So when you set up, for example, depending on the pen and also the surface and maybe the thickness of the paper, you can calibrate everything. Once you finish, you just say erase pen and turn off motors, so you can actually move the x-axis and y-axis. Further down to the right, or further to the right, you have the options. That's actually very important. So if you click on this, it will usually direct you directly to the configuration. And this is extremely important. Check this before you start plotting. I had initially the problem that it was on iDraw A4. Then just say apply. And there will be just, it will say also, okay, it's connected, everything is fine. Let's begin with a short test. I have here the same drawing as in the previous review on the iDraw 1.0, and we start here again with a grid, basic grid of dots with the regular distances. And as you can see already, the pen plotter is extremely fast. I have it right now at 8,000 millimeter per second set up, so it's pretty much the fastest speed that we can do. Let's begin the next layer, and that's the short lines, and again the same speed. And the last layer are diagonal lines, and these diagonal lines have to meet or have to match exactly the dots and also the endpoints of the short lines. And it's also again at 8,000 millimeter per minute. Okay, let's have a look. And as you can see, it's extremely precise. So what you would expect actually from it, there is no problem with it. Everything went well. If there is any irregularity, like for example here a little bit, that's only because of the tip of the pen. Of course, there is a lot of pressure, and also of course goes back and goes left and right, and therefore the tip is also a bit soft and also bends slightly. But the drawing is extremely precise. Let's continue with one more example. Let's do some very fast circles, again at 8000 millimeter per second. And the circles, of course, the faster you are, the less precise they become. But in this case, that should work very well. Let's have a look. Oh, it's extremely fast. Okay, let's have a look again. And as you can see, it's very precise. So if there is any irregularity, like something, that's more like the ink is bleeding with the paper or it's interacting with it. But you can see here where the plotter started to draw the circle and also ended up, it's perfectly precise. There is almost no difference. And it's also, the curves are extremely smooth. So it doesn't really matter how fast you are with this pen plotter. The limitation seems to be just the pen. If you have a pen that releases enough ink and interacts with the paper, then you can go as fast as you want pretty much. Let's do one more example, and I just use a very basic pen. It's a 2HB pen, and I want to show you how the pen holder plate with the two springs, how it actually makes a big difference when we want to draw some pencil drawings. Alright, so this is finished now. Let's have a look. I want to show you the details because I find it quite fascinating working with the pencil with this pen plotter. And as you can see basically the outlines here. They are very nice and thick, so that's why I went twice with it. And also, of course, I drew them first before the hatch, and then the hatch is actually very nice and smooth. There is literally no line, nothing. It's actually a very beautiful pencil drawing, and I think there is a lot of potential with that, so I might try out a bit more of this method. Okay, so let's finalize this video. Let's finalize the review because I think it's already longer than I expected. Now, first thing is the frame, of course. The frame is the most particular thing. You can see it instantly. It's very heavy. It's about 3 to 4 kg heavy. So it has also amazing legs here, rubber legs on the bottom. So if you want to move it, nothing is shaking. It's literally nothing shaking. So I can try to apply a lot of force to it. Nothing will happen to it. And I think that's also very important because it works at extremely high speeds. For that, of course, you need a very strong and stable frame that doesn't tilt, that doesn't shake, and you need very fast motors. Additionally, if you have speed, you need also a much better pen holder plate. A regular servo motor that you have like in iDraw and other pen plotters is simply too slow for these speeds because servo motor needs to first lift up slowly and then lowers down. So there is always some delay in that. And also when it lowers down, it stops as well a bit, so you have always some bleeding on the bottom. Whereas with the stepper motor, it's extremely fast, like up, down, very quickly, almost instantly. Talking about the pen holder plate and the speed. So of course, if you have very high speeds, you need also a very good, you need to also transfer the speed and the ink and the pen on top of a surface. And the base plate, I find it useful actually. I thought first it's kind of maybe not necessary because I'm used to work on other surfaces and just place the pen plot and I use anything else, what is on the bottom. But I found it extremely useful and fast to calibrate, because you do have the lines here nicely. You place it inside your A3 paper and you instantly can plot without any issues. Yeah, without trying to match the lines, without trying to make sure that this is also perfectly parallel to each other. No, it's already here inside. And at the same time, because the base plate is connected to the frame, so you can maintain the high speeds, because even it's moving very quickly, nothing will shake. Even the table shakes, this will not shake, because it's all part of the same frame. And I think this is amazing. Now, but talking about the base plate, that basically brings me also to the things that I find inconvenient, I find that could be more improved. First of all, as you can see here already in the top part, there is like a few things, and I find these parts more like a decoration. And I don't think it adds justice to this amazing pen plotter, because you know, you have the microcontroller, the motherboard below it. You have the pause button, you have the switch button, and yeah, it's maybe convenient to press the buttons there and to have them there. But I also find it like, no, not necessary. If I want to draw very beautiful drawings, maybe I use different kind of formats for paper, maybe long paper. So maybe I want to overlay here a bit further down the paper. So all these things are in the way. Yeah, so I prefer actually a very nice clean surface, a surface that is traction. So that's much better. And in fact, the motherboard is supposed to be here actually. Just the same as in the model without the basement, the microcontroller is there. So you can also unscrew it and also place it back in this location. So there is not an issue, and I probably will do it. The only problem would be like the button, so you have to remove it and maybe place it somewhere in the background or just remove the cable. So another big deal, but yeah, it's possible to just remove these things. And additionally, you can see also this part. So again, it's some decoration in this case. This is, as you know, you can place the paper inside. You can also open up the screws and you can shift it up and down a bit. But if you shift it inside to hold the paper exactly at A3 size, what will happen is it will be in the way. Yeah, so when it runs. Again, it's not necessary. I understand why it's there, just as a decorative part to show that you can write with it, but not at all, not for me personally. And we already have these magnets here, so iDraw includes this like 8 small magnets, and they're excellent. So they're already perfect. All this other stuff you don't need. It's not important at all. And last thing is, or last two things that I find inconvenient, it's actually always a base, which I find super important, actually very helpful, but it can have more improvement. So here, depending on the position of the pen holder or the pen itself, if it's 90 degrees, you see the edge of the paper is not anymore here, but it shifts a bit, like 1.8 centimeter. And of course, in the software, in Inkscape, the edge is here. So you have to consider maybe you have to shift things around, and it has to do with the pen. So what I mean by that is it would be nice if there would be the option that you can shift the base plate 1.8 centimeter to the side if you have the different position. Or if I move the pen maybe 80 degree or 70 degree, I might have to move the base plate more to the left side. So to calibrate it together with the plate, with the pen holder plate. Or if not, then it should be bigger, the plate. Yeah, so one of those two options. So that would make it much easier, because right now you can here move it to the side exactly the distance that is required, but it's not convenient to actually shift things around. So yeah, that would be much better. Conclusion. So can I recommend this pen plotter? Definitely yes. I think you have seen in this video I've been covering quite a lot of aspects, as many as I could in this short time. There is a few more that I could perhaps talk about, but I think you understand that this pen plotter has quite a high quality when it comes to the frame, the speed, the precision. Also the endurance of the frame, so everything is nicely tight and connected with each other. There are no complaints. I have no complaints at all. I'm actually quite amazed by the speed and the versatility when it comes to the different kinds of pens that I can use. So from pencils to ballpoint pens, including even ink pens. So this is actually quite a great pen plotter in that sense. Now, when it comes to the price, I think it's extremely good. So already mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you use the code "the dot is black," you get a 15% discount, and the pen plotter with the base plate will cost you about $460, whereas without the base plate, it will cost you $360. So that is exact, including shipping, including international shipping, not to forget, because if you compare it to, let's say, to the iDraw, it's half the price and you get a really good pen plotter. I would even dare to say that in certain areas it is better than the iDraw. That is especially true when it comes to the speed, as you can see also in this clip behind you. So I definitely can recommend it if you don't have any pen plotter and if you look for a really good machine that will also last for a while. Now, in case I forgot anything or if I haven't been clear enough and you have questions, please feel free to ask in the comments. Otherwise, I would appreciate if you like the video and share perhaps as well. The more people can watch this video, the better, the more perhaps I will be able to do other reviews in the future, because I do quite like it. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. So have a lovely day.